So, welcome. I'm Tanishka, and if you haven't sat with me before, then really lovely to have you join us. Thank you to those of you that are here live, particularly my dear friend Kat, for whom it's 11 o'clock at night. Whatever time it is, happy Sunday. We've just taken a poll inside the Zoom room, and it's all agreed that it's time for a new approach to the global crisis. And yes, a lot of people are calling for a return to matriarchy on the socials. And if you're not familiar with matriarchy, you might go, well, why do we want women running the world? That's not what matriarchy looks like. Matriarchy is where we bow to nature, which is the seasonal cycles, the lunar cycles, the solar cycles and the planetary cycles, on the understanding that's the only thing that actually has any power over us. Whether you believe in astrology or not, it's like whether you believe in gravity or not. Your boobs will still sag after a certain age, regardless of whether you believe in gravity. So too with the natural cycles, they initiate us. So right now we are at the end of a 26,000 year cycle, and it is initiating us. And how do we get initiated? Crisis. So welcome to the Tantric approach to the global crisis. So the more we think our way out of a crisis, any crisis, whether that's global, personal, here's the thing, we're all going through a personal crisis because everything's interconnected, right? So we are all interconnected. We're all part of the one organism, the one consciousness subjectively experiencing itself. And of course, so that's catalyzing a personal crisis for all of us. So never before have we needed each other more, have we needed the support to come together and acknowledge, ain't the world crazy? Are we going down with it? But the crazier we get if we try and think our way out of a global crisis. The nature of crisis is that it applies pressure internally and externally until, just like a baby chicken and egg, we crack under that pressure. So the more we try to hold things together, the more we crack up. The more we relax and allow, as the saying, let go and let God, let everything fall away how it must, then we birth a new outlook. Just ask any woman that's birthed a baby. Can't hold your legs together. It's happening whether we like it or not. So if you're feeling that cracks are showing within you right now, you're right on schedule. So how do we escape this worry for the state of the world? Yeah, on the understanding that our leaders really don't have a clue, because, even the word leader is a joke now, and that's a wonderful gift, so that finally we, the 99%, go, oh, hang on, we'd be doing a better job if we took the power back ourselves and decentralised power away from the hands of these megalomaniacs and return to a more community-based consensus way of living. So how do we get out of our heads? How do we stop this constant worry? Yeah, well, certainly not like this. That hasn't worked for us. During the age of Pisces, the last 2,000 years, the final sign on our spin around the zodiac wheel, that 26,000 year cycle known as the precession of the equinoxes, many took to the bottle over the last 2,000 years when they were in a state of crisis. That's because Pisces is a water sign. So just as we discovered places by ships for a lot of the Piscean age, a lot of people drank their toxin. Now as we get ready to move into the Aquarian age, which is an air sign, a lot of people are smoking weed instead. Still don't recommend that as a way of getting out of your head. Apart from anything, it puts a psychic sludge around your auric field. But that's why communication's being sent through the air in the terms of Wi-Fi. More people are doing air travel. Yeah, we've shifted gear. We've shifted into a different element. But the element air is the mind. And when that's out of balance, i.e. when we're too mental, things don't go well. And the solution to our global crisis isn't rational. It doesn't make sense. As illustrated by the story of the Rainmaker, this is a Chinese parable. Just a show of hands, anyone already familiar with this story? Just my hand up, interesting, okay. Well, essentially, there's a drought happening in this village. And this village, they try all of, the sort of cheaper rainmakers. And they come in, they do their darts, they shake their rattle, still no rain. So eventually they go, right, we're going to have to get in the big guns, we're going to have to get in that guy that is more expensive than everybody else, but he'll get the job done. So they welcome this rainmaker to town, and the only thing that he asks of them is for a hut where he can be undisturbed for 4 days. They're like, sure, no worries. So they give this guy a hut, he goes in, it keeps, status quo in place, no rain. First day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day it rains. And the guy comes out of his hut and they're like, whoa, what did you do? Yeah, there was no dance, no rattle. He said, well, I meditated because everything is a reflection, everything's holographic, everything's interconnected. So I have no power over anything but myself. All I can do is bring myself into a state of balance. And so he spent a day for each of the directions, each of the elements, bringing himself into right relationship with each of those elements. December last year, over the solstice, I led 12 men through the ancient Grail rite to do that. And in the ancient world, for those of you that have read my Grail book, the men would do that leading up to the winter solstice each year to be in right relationship with those 4 directions. And it's kind of like a year in review, so that then you can make clear intentions for the coming annual cycle for each of those elements. And the Tuatha De Danann, who were the 5th race of people to invade Ireland, who were humans that became gods, did so by bowing and studying the 4 elements. And they became plasma beings. When we see Krishna, who's blue, Pleiadians, Smurfs, Avatar, they're blue. Well, that's a plasma being. If you look at the flame, the most top part of the flame is blue. So we're on our way to becoming blue. Yes, we're going through a metamorphosis that is metaphysical. So it's understandable for this growth spurt there will be growth pains, and that's what we're experiencing now. But the payoff's going to be amazing. When I say to young people in particular, you'll kick yourself if you top yourself now, because life is going to be more amazing than you could even conceive. Yeah, we're going to be able to do the most radical things once we go through this quantum shift into the Aquarian age. And we will know when we're there. If you've been saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we will definitely know when we are in the Aquarian age. We're still in the birthing canal. It's like, things are uncomfortable. There's a lot of huffing and puffing. And we might feel the pressure of that cone head, but we're certainly not there yet. But you'll see behind me the Aurora Borealis. We are in the cusp of the shift. The aurora is plasma. It's created by plasma ejections from the sun interacting with the expanded electromagnetic grid of the Earth. And Charles Hapgood, who was a scientist who made claims about the pole shift that Einstein agreed with, but many dismissed. And he said that during the cusp we would see the Aurora Borealis and the Aurora Australis further and further away from the poles. And it's like the rainbow body of the earth is glowing. And that's a lovely kind of sign that enough of us are activating our rainbow bridge. Yeah, that tree of life within us that bridges the three worlds. The underworld, which is the subconscious, the everyday world, which is the conscious, and the upper world, which is the superconscious. So, rainbows are not just for 4-year-olds, it's for everybody. And yes, the rainbow, not just for the queer community, it's for everybody. And we're all, walking this rainbow bridge into an exciting new world. But first, the old has to fall. And the old is Rome. That's what, we're still living in. The Greco-Roman culture was pedophilic. If you wanted an education, it was only available to boys, and your mentor had rights to your body. So we're seeing all the old karma coming out now to be seen, so we can see how unsustainable socially our foundations are, that we can't move forwards if we're still stuck in the lower mind, in the solar plexus, in the bottom 3 energy centers or chakras, which is living hell on earth. Yeah, this is, we operate in the lower 3 energy centers when we're uninitiated, okay, when we're unaware of ourselves, like narcissists, yeah. But when we step into the heart, in the ancient world, you would receive the key to the mysteries. That was turned into the key to the world of men. But this is when you would go for initiation. More about that later. So our invitation at this time is to respond as alchemists, not activists. Now, I've done my share of protests in the day. And it's always nice when you see, everyone, all these people are here because they believe in something. But activism, it continues that dance of polarity. Yeah? We're energizing one particular side. And ultimately, I don't know if you remember the lovely film, love menopause. What a fun game that is when you just can't remember what you want to say. The Dark Crystal. If anyone remembers Jim Henson's film, The Dark Crystal. Let's see if I can get rid of that hand thing. Lower hand, there we go. So the Skeksis were the corrupt elite, were running the world, and the Gelflings were these sort of humble nature spirits being bullied by the Skeksis. And the mystics just quietly walked to a place where the Skeksis were. Kind of like, the monks that walked to Washington recently. Yeah. And the mystics merged with the Skeksis and became one. And the soul of the world was healed. So rather than us blaming and shaming those that we see as getting it wrong on the world stage, our job is to own our shadow and become whole and heal the world soul, like this symbol here on the screen. That's how we fulfill the whirling rainbow prophecy. More about that soon. And I'm not the only one who suggested this. Gandhi, who single-handedly ejected the British Empire out of India, he said, we but mirror the world. All the tendencies that are present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. So, like the song penned by Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson, we are the world, we are the pole shift too. We are everything, yeah? In fact, the way that the Tuatha were unfortunately overthrown was through magic. Yeah, the Iberians who came from Spain, Portugal, Gibraltar, they overthrew them by saying, I am the earth, I am the salmon of knowledge. I am everything. The more we move into the I am consciousness, knowing that I have within me the ability to be both Jesus and Hitler. Yeah, I'm all of it. I am the sea, the stars, the blood, the moon. I'm all of it. And the more we can come into that consciousness, then everything is available to us, including the ability to make miracles happen that defy logic, to heal our world. So yeah, everything is interconnected in the quantum field, and that's a wonderful thing at the moment. Science is catching up with the yogis, proving through quantum physics what yogis and mystics have been saying for eons. So life is multidimensional because we are multidimensional. Yeah, we've been operating in 3D, the lower 3 chakras, the lowest expression of humanity, and we're about to go through that eye of the needle, the heart chakra, into the upper dimensions. So hence a lot of the kids that are coming through are non-verbal. They're already communicating telepathically, as the telepathy tapes show. And the more of us that move into the heart, yeah, we live in a blue and green planet. We're meant to be love and healing, the heart and the throat chakra. So this is our challenge, to be not just kind. This is not about having a psyop of compliance imposed on us, but rather loving, compassionate, the highest form of love, which is the higher heart chakra, which is turquoise, which sits between the two. And it's said that when we emit this turquoise colour, yeah, that we attract to us our beloved, our divine complement. And when the beloveds come together, our ability to manifest miracles is 1,000-fold. So there is nothing more powerful than love. So that's our challenge, to transcend our fear and be the embodiment of love. So a rational approach to anything will only ever create surface level outcomes. Yeah, so this is why we see, for instance, equal rights that are imposed by law. Unless they come from a genuine understanding, we won't see equality. Yeah? We will rebel against it, like children against a parent. And transformation is never achieved through politics, because politics is of the mind. Yeah, it's polarizing between right and wrong, yeah, between two parties. I mean, we've only got to look at our so-called leaders in question time, who do not behave like any behaviour we would want to emulate, to know they are not leading by example. So waiting for politicians to save us is literally mental. A lot of people are going crazy watching the antics of politicians. But so is giving up. We don't just want to be apathetic and watch Netflix, because fantasizing superheroes will not save us. Okay? We've tried that for quite some time. No, we are the ones we've been waiting for, to quote the Hopi prophecy. And yes, who do you think inspired Princess Leia? The Hopi had more prophecies than any other tribe. And that's because they were many tribes that became one. And that's our job right now, to become the rainbow tribe. Yeah? Many different people choosing conscious community. Because there's 3 levels to community. At the first level, we are clan, yeah? And we do what the group mind says for fear of being ostracised and not surviving on our own. The second level is where we individuate and we go looking for our tribe, yeah? Because we say, well, my opinions, my ideas are different to that of my family of origin. There's got to be some people out there that agree with me. Where are my tribe? And individuation is when we're vulnerable. Yeah, we're really sort of on our own, and particularly in the West, we see a lot of individuation, a lot of people living on their own, so life becomes very expensive when you're having to do everything to generate all your needs yourself. And that's being leveraged by the globalists, cranking up inflation. And that's making people crazy too, just trying to get enough money to survive. But the third level is conscious community. And that's where we say, you know what? We're all vulnerable on our own and we need each other. But let's come together in a way where we're not going to impose our ideas on each other, where we acknowledge free will is a universal quantum law. And we respect differences. That's the ethos of the Aquarian age. But we also acknowledge that we're in this together, and the only way through this crisis and through life is to work together. So that's where we're at now. It's up to us to save ourselves. That's why so many men are now wearing lycra. I didn't think I'd live to see that when I was a child in the 70s, growing up in North Queensland, which is kind of like the deep south in America. And that's just a sign of how much change is possible in 50 years. MAML stands for a middle-aged man wearing lycra. And I'm all for it. I'm all for people that don't comply to the standard homogenized view of the perfect body being seen like a pork sausage on a bicycle. But here's the thing, the cycles that these men are focusing on are a distraction. They're not the cycles that will help us to mature and grow. More about that soon. So yes, our world is as divided and polarized as it's ever been, but we're seeing it. So ever since the first war that was televised, Vietnam, the 99% said, we don't want this. This is not who we are. We're hobbits. We just want a nice sunset, a simple life, warm food in our bellies, and our kids to be happy. We're not really complex. Now we're seeing, ever since Iraq, the war on Iraq, we're seeing the war televised on social media. And again, the world is rallying and saying, we don't want this. These are our brothers and sisters. We do not want to kill them. So we are unifying over the war. Unfortunately, that is a catalyst. The more polarized that we are, each and every one of us, saying this is right and this is wrong, the more conflict there will continue to be. Because the mind is double-edged, like a sword. Here we see the Ace of Swords from the Tarot. So if we allow ourselves to be divided by ideas, it will continue to escalate. The mind perceives everything through a lens of duality, dividing everything into opposites. That's true, that's false, that's good, that's bad, that's right, that's wrong. This is an attempt to define ourselves by saying, well, I'm not that. This is how we elevate our sense of self, our sense of value, our self-worth, when the mind is dominant. The ego. The mind is the ego. So when we are a rationalist, if we only believe in that which we can prove through the 5 earthly senses, we are constantly in a state of judgment, judging everything we see, everything we experience in a dualistic framework. That is exhausting. That's why we've got more anxiety right now on the planet than ever before, and the levels of suicide are higher than ever before. Because the mind is a prison. If we strive to be good, we will be haunted by the parts of us that we feel are not good enough. This is what creates the split persona, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Those that strive to appear exemplary out in the world, whether that's TV evangelists or politicians. And then now at the end of the Kali Yuga, the end of the Piscean age, the sign of karma, it's all coming home to roost. Yeah, we can't hide any of our shadow. It's all coming out like a big zit, a big pimple, a big boil. And swinging between polarities is what prevents us from actually moving forwards. Here we have the Chariot, which represents the Merkaba, the light body, the soul. So long as we are swinging between the pillars of light and dark, judging everything as right and wrong, we're not going anywhere. When we're enslaved by the rational mind, we judge the traits that we disown in ourselves. So the more strongly we refuse to see something in ourselves, the more righteous, indignation we have, pointing the finger and accusing others with hellfire and damnation. We become so filled with judgment, we take life very seriously. Unfortunately, we're seeing that in a lot of our Gen Z kids who are labelled as woke by the awake. Again, that's another form of duality. So here we see a wonderful quote from The Simpsons: "I'm a level 5 vegan, I don't eat anything that casts a shadow." So when we're taking ourselves seriously, we're further and further away from the light. We're not light-hearted. We need to laugh at the ridiculousness of the circus we are watching on the global stage. It's time to get our popcorn and not take it seriously, because if we get hooked up in the drama of it, we add to the drama of it. So why do we become, so heavy and take everything, as the judge with the gavel judging everything? Well, we do this to avoid blame. Yeah? There's a psyop being done on us that blames us for global warming, blames us for pollution, blames us for the state of the world, which is kind of a bit of a, that's like the elite, the 1% shirking the blame, yeah? So the 99% are kind of wallowing in these feelings of guilt and shame if they buy into that narrative. And that's why we see so many seeking absolution from shame and guilt. Take this cup away from me. Save me, save me. There's a lot of people signing up for the 3D cults created by the empires. I'm speaking about the monotheistic patriarchal religions who want to be saved by the Father God. The dude in sandals. Well, he's coming about as much as Superman. The shame and guilt is something we have to heal in ourselves. Hey, note the Magi attire there on Yeshua. He was an alchemist. He was a wonderful avatar. He walked the white path of purity and the red path of initiation. That's what the magician does. The magician's pose in the tarot, like John Travolta, as above, so below. We know that we are the change we need to create in the world. So if we're only walking the white path of purification, which is what Christianity and Judaism and Islam have all aspired to be. They've aspired to be good, to be pure, to be right. But the shadow bites them on the ass. They become righteous, judgmental, and attack each other. That's what we're seeing right now. We've got Judaism and Christianity ganging up on Islam. I mean, come on. This is not working for us. The avatars that led, these philosophies were not killing each other. We need the red path of initiation, which is Tantra. This balances the white path. We need to walk both. So we need yoga, we need meditation, We need purification through fasting. We need discipline for the ego. Yes, we do. But it's got to be balanced. We need the sacred feminine mysteries of the Grail, of Sufism, and of the Kabbalah, the three mystic traditions that were distorted to create the three patriarchal religions. Tantra willingly looks at the shadow. It says, yeah, I need that evil eye. I need someone to help me see and own my crap so that I can become whole, balanced. This is what we need to integrate the sum of all the parts that make up our psyche. The word psyche means soul. The soul is multifaceted, whereas the ego is just three-dimensional. The more that we humble our ego to see our flaws and be accountable for how we are all the perpetrator, how we are all the victim, the less critical we are of ourselves and others, and the more loving and wise we become. We need common sense. Yeah, that's the gift of honouring our Earth Mother. Realising that we are all elemental. Everything in our earth-bound reality is elemental, which is why we must bow to those elements and seek to balance them. Air, water, fire, earth, and ether, the fifth element, the element of surprise, that is spirit. When the psyche is split, we struggle with indecision and fear of commitment, fear of losing control and making mistakes, fear of change and the unknown, and fear of intimacy. We feel torn between desire and fear of losing ourselves, which is losing our ego. All of that makes us human and vulnerable, and this crisis is bringing all of that up right now for us to take responsibility individually to journey. That's our work right now. We must bow to the wisdom of the cycles. This was actually, you'll see it at Newgrange, which is older than Stonehenge in Ireland, which was a grail place where the men would go in and bow to the four elements, the four directions, as part of the Holy Grail rite of passage over midwinter. But all Indigenous cultures honoured that life's downward spirals are times of initiation. It is inevitable. Life will conspire to take down the ego. At each of the four thresholds that are our shift between maiden, mother, mage and crone, the four feminine life stages, or knight, king, magi and sage, the four life stages in a man's life, but also at the end of an age, an astrological cosmic age, and the beginning of another. But right now, many of us are going through not just a personal threshold, such as midlife, a midlife crisis, and a shift between the Piscean 2150 year age and the age of Aquarius, but also the end of a 26,000 year age going around the entire astrological wheel known as the zodiac and into a whole new era of species of Homo sapien. So yes, it's time for us to bow our ego to the wisdom of the cycles, because we are at a crossroads as a species. We have free will, and our choices will decide the trajectory, whether we experience the utopia, the golden age, where we will become less dense, we will be able to manifest at will, levitate, bilocate, we will become superhuman, naturally. Or the Mad Max scenario of the dystopia, the future reality that we are being programmed with dystopian programming on the streaming platforms, because the darker forces can't create. The dark can't create. It needs the spark, the light to create. They need us to create the jail they want us to stay in with them, because they can't go where we're going. But we are star-seeded. Yeah, Adame, the first man, was a genetic experiment, mixing Cro-Magnon DNA with star-seeded potential. The human races were seeded by galactic races. That's why we look different. So, like Sesame Street, we can't become friends with our galactic neighbours until we learn we can all get along on the one street, regardless of if we have different humanoid features. So it's not a given that we have to just passively accept a dystopian outcome. Life is hanging in the balance for us to choose. This symbol, long before it was the seal of Solomon used on the Israeli flag, it was the heart chakra, the balance of the upward triangle pointing towards the Sky Father and the downward triangle pointing towards the Earth Mother. We need to balance feminine, masculine traits and values within us, because the soul is both feminine and masculine. So rather than mutilate our bodies to reject either our feminine or our masculine, we need to embrace both. So 4D, the fourth dimension, is the heart. We can step up and become the best version of ourselves through creating a unified field and experience heaven on earth, a state of being in sacred union with every element, with every brother and sister, with the land, with the cosmos. And the key to that is learning how to journey with the cycles, being in a state of union with the sun, the moon, the seasons, and the planets. If we step down into 3D hell, creating from the mind, trying to create the perfect reality, trying to compete with and outdo nature, we will create a state of separation. Did we learn nothing from Star Wars? We are not here to become one with the machine. Artificial intelligence. Artificial is an illusion, and it is delusional. The further we go down that slippery slope, the more dehumanized we become. That's why we're seeing programming of superheroes that are more machine than men. Yeah, remember when Superman had a gut in the 30s? Yeah, he also wrestled with depression, the guy that played Superman. What makes us heroic is our humanity, the ability to acknowledge our fears and have the courage, the heart, kuros, the heart, to face them. We are here at this time to be agents of positive social change. So what's the fastest way to do that? Align with the divine design. It's already there in front of us, like the Fibonacci. We have a divine design within us, and it is activated the more we align with the divine design of nature, those sacred spirals that govern us. So matriarchy was not where women ruled, but where we all bowed to the wisdom and power of the cycles that initiate us, and the women would decode the cycles. They would make sense of the cycles. Or so too would the mystic men, like Merlin, who had integrated the feminine within themselves. Because the feminine cycles 13 times a year. Yeah, when we're fertile, we distill that wisdom in our grail, in our wombs. Men, because you're ruled by the sun, you have an equivalent cycle, you go down with the winter solstice. So women distill through being taken down by their bodies and initiated by their bodies 13 times a year compared to men once a year. So having men in positions of power ruling over the feminine is a recipe for disaster, to go against the stars. So this is how we will accelerate our growth, through observing the power of the spiral, like these gorgeous ferns. The cycles hold the key to us reclaiming our authority as sovereign beings, beings who choose according to their conscience, to their heart, what feels right or wrong, what feels honouring or dishonouring, i.e. treating others the way we want to be treated. This is how we will have sacred anarchy moving forwards, instead of deferring to some external power and giving our personal power to them to choose for us. It's time to get R-rated, taking responsibility for ourselves instead of railing against those who we've given our power to. So we've been conditioned to think that time is linear, so that we are productive like machines. But linear time is a man-made construct. It leads us to live life as a race. There's two things the ego fears: running out of time and running out of money. That's how we know we're still an ego, if we're obsessing over time and money. Yeah, if you're ever thinking about doing a retreat or a pilgrimage to some sacred site, something that your soul is saying, hey, I'm feeling to do this, the ego will come in and go, like Mr. Hand, oh, you haven't got the time, you haven't got the money. That's how we sabotage the growth of our soul. And that's what keeps us living a half-life. Yeah, like the zombie apocalypse, the dead that are living, scared that we'll never have enough time, and thinking that time is money. This keeps us in the loop, yeah? People that are afraid of missing out, FOMO, they want to always be in an urban environment knowing what's going on. They don't realise they're in that treadmill. And that's where the Wi-Fi signal, that toxic electromagnetic pollution that prevents us hearing our intuition, is most running interference in the urban cities. The truth is, everything in life is cyclic, but we can harness that power of the golden ratio. How? By creating a positive vortex. A vortex is a spiral of energy. If we think about when are the elements at their most powerful, it's when they're in a vortex. So a hurricane is when air is in a vortex, or a whirlpool is when water is in a vortex. We have vortices within us, the chakras. There are vortices within the electromagnetic grid of the earth. Iran is over Stargate 10, a powerful vortice. This is where the Anunnaki landed, where the light was gridded into Gaia. This is why it's kicking off there. We need to send our prayers there. This is where the Zoroastrian religion also birthed the 3 patriarchal religions. So this is a pivotal point on the grid, and it's telling us now it's the time to raise our vibe, to come together in circle and ceremony to create positive vortices all over the planet. So a vortex is how energy generates power. I'm sure you've seen this, the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins, a wonderful book, speaks of how a vortex can be positive or negative. So we can ascend or we can descend. That's our choice at this time. And each and every one of us is a conduit for that. Hence we need to view ourselves as magis, sacred magicians, sacred warriors, Jedis. Yeah. So each emotional state has a frequency, just as a virus, a bacteria, molds, every illness has a frequency. So our vibe is how we save ourselves. Only listen to music that is high vibe, because music is the fastest way to change your state. Seek out people that you feel expanded and good and happy around, to raise your vibe, and you will be healthier. Be mindful of the situations that zap your energy, that lower your vibe, because when our cortisol spikes, that's when we're at risk of illness. A working bee is an example of a positive vortex, yeah? When we come together motivated by love to create something wonderful. Love is the highest frequency on the planet. Well, joy, okay? So think about what gives us joy, yeah? Hence the term follow your bliss that Joseph Campbell is famous for. But then everyone comes away uplifted. I've facilitated circles for 30 years, and on every single circle, we get people to do a scan and notice how they're feeling when we start and notice how they're feeling when we end. Everyone is uplifted. But that's a held space with an intention. If we all just come together and complain, we create a negative vortex and everyone walks away drained, which is why we need a skilled facilitator, a trained facilitator holding that space to create an upward vortex where everyone walks away uplifted. This is our true power. It's community. You know, when Pluto was discovered, we were learning about power by blowing shit apart. But Warwick Sayer, who taught me astrology, said we will discover trans-Pluto. And trans-Pluto finds power by drawing everything together. This is the way of the feminine. It's humble, it's grassroots, and it's acting local while thinking globally. It's the power of communion, community. So let's not eat our meals alone. Even if it's, you know, being a nomad, if I see someone else eating alone, I'll invite them to eat with me. Food is a sacrament. We digest it better when we share a meal. So look at what we can share, how we can open up our hearts and our doors to create a global family. Seeing each other as brothers and sisters. This is a central theme in the Aquarian age. We must harness people power. It's easy to drown in a downward spiral when we don't have the right support. We've all been there. It's part of our humanness that we will have days that are black, days that are brown, navy. It's part of the whole colour wheel. So when I'm having a black day, someone else will help get me out of that quicksand. If we have the right support, we will spiral upwards and evolve with love. This is how stars form. They spiral and draw to them like particles. This is the power of coming together in ceremony and circle. It helps us to expand our light. When we gather in circle with a clear intention, we create a cone of power. You know, we've been dumbed down when it comes to metaphysics and magic, so that we wouldn't see what was being done to us by the dark occult priests. But now it's time for us to take back our power of magic. This is why, you know, we've loved Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, but instead of just thinking it's fantasy as rationalists, we need to live it. This is how we will evolve. The light of the sun is emitting huge amounts of plasma, helping us to upgrade our light bodies. So there are times when we are wiped energetically, and the best way to integrate these high octane frequencies that are coming in is to rest, to not be productive, but we're being very productive on the inner level. But I'm going to be running a program for men and women to gather the 12 suns, to harness that solar light that's coming in, to awaken the hero by facing our fears as we journey the hero's journey, as the sun initiates us around the zodiac. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be starting just prior to the sun going into Aries, having 7 planets in the sign of war on April 17. So we're going to need as many people holding the light as possible. If we gather in groups without a sacred or positive intention, this is what forms an unconscious pyramid of power. This is where the dominant ego rules. We see that in every lunchroom, in every schoolyard, in every workplace. Yeah, we see bullying. It can be covert, it can be overt, but that's what happens when we come together without an understanding of circle. This is why all indigenous cultures initiated everybody to sit in circle every month from the time you crossed over through puberty into adulthood. Without circle, the collective descends into entropy. We become the worst version of ourselves and life goes down the toilet. We must learn to share power through passing a talking stick. Everyone has the right to be heard, seen, and understood. When we feel truly seen, we feel truly loved. This is what develops compassion and empathy, hearing and listening to each other. Without this, we see life as a chessboard, black and white, and consciously or unconsciously, we try to dominate, to get our needs met, to avoid being dominated. We live in a mindset of competition, which is war. The gods of the Olympiad had us focus every 4 years on a ritual to charge up competition, the Olympics. Yeah, the original Olympics was a ritual. Only men that were, could watch, and it was young male athletes who performed feats naked and their sweat was collected for. It's a dark occult ritual. Yeah, that flame, that fire, they're harnessing our energy. We don't need to play the game, because currently those who are most personally disempowered are those who compulsively seek external power to prove their validity, to prove their worth. They're like Oz, the little man who's projecting a big show. They will do anything to get more and more power. They'll take devil's bargains. We don't need people in those positions of power anymore. They're megalomaniacs, addicted to achieving status. They don't care about us, the 99%. They don't have the capacity. They're too wounded. They need our prayers, not our animosity. When the power of love replaces the love of power, then will the world know the blessings of peace. This has been attributed to Hendricks, but it was William Gladstone back in the 1800s that first spoke those words. We only seek power operating out of solar plexus if we don't believe love is possible. It's because so many of us were wounded that we started to seek, status, glory, power, money, fame. This is all egoic. 8 out of kids now, when they're surveyed asking them what they want to be, say they want to be famous. They don't know what they want to do, how they want to contribute to the greater good. They just know, I need to be validated. Not if they feel loved. All of us who are adults, they're all of our children. We're seeing infertility rates soar as the same trajectory of technology is introduced. Fertility dropped when personal computers were introduced and phones. So technology is killing us. Yeah, it's destroying life on Earth. You'll know if you've spent any time trying to communicate your needs with technology. We're told it makes our life simpler, but in fact, it makes it more dehumanizing, more complex, more infuriating. It is not the answer. So too, when we protest, all we do is affirm the power is outside of us. The same with petitions. Please listen to us. Please make our needs happen. Our dreams come true. We're like children. But when we gather in circle and do ceremony, we raise our power and we manifest. We create our intentions. Magic is just knowing how to generate and direct energy. Some of you will remember how to create a vortex. Growing up in Australia, some of us had friends that had an up-ground pool. So we'd jump in, we'd all run around the edge to create a vortex, and then laugh and giggle as we turned around and tried to push against it. Well, it's time to do that on a big scale. It's time to save the world by gathering in circle during nature's power windows. Because if we just gathered, as a mob, an angry mob, it doesn't create a vortex. And if we gather during the power windows of nature, which is the equinoxes and the solstices, and the cross-quarter halfway points, which are 3-day vortices, seasonal vortices, or if we gather over full moon or over new moon, the lunar vortices, or if we gather when the sun moves into a new solar month, or during an eclipse, then we raise incredible power. We wield creation, those elements, with love. So the vortices of the solar, lunar and seasonal cycles, this is what accelerates our power to transform ourselves and our world, knowing that we are both. It's how we'll whip ourselves into shape. Anyone that's baked a cake knows cooking is alchemy, right? You want to churn butter, you want to whip cream, what do? You create a vortex. Same with us. It's what we used to do. All of these sacred sites, it's where we used to come together as community in circle and raise our vibe as custodians of Eden. We are living in the time of the whirling rainbow prophecy. This came through many. It said when the earth was being ravaged and the animals were dying, a new tribe of people would come upon the earth from the four corners, like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. They shall be known as the rainbow warriors. The good news, not all rainbow warriors are buff, okay? You don't have to work out. This is all kinds of people coming together in unity and harmony to bridge the worlds. The whirling rainbow prophecy said there would come a day when people of all colours and creeds will put aside their differences and come together in love, joining hands in unity to heal the earth and her children. They would move over the earth like a great whirling rainbow, bringing peace, love and understanding wherever they go. Now, a lot of people were travelling to sacred sites. We're seeing a lot of people from the east trying to migrate to the west in search of a better life. We're seeing people from the west as digital nomads migrating to the east in search of a better life. This is balancing east and west, feminine, masculine. This is fulfilling this prophecy, which said the ancient teachers would also travel around the world disseminating the ancient lost wisdom teachings. This is how we see the world through our own eyes, not through television, the programming that divides and conquers us. So lockdown stopped that process. So too with the Ukraine war, now the war in Iran, raising fuel prices. This has the potential to ground flights. So it's important that we gather wherever we are to create vortices, because this whirling rainbow, people travelling, seeing the world through their own eyes, meeting brothers and sisters, has been creating a rainbow around the earth, mixing all colours and creeds, appreciating each other's cultures. This prophecy of the whirling rainbow was received by the Navajo, the Hopi, the Zuni, the Cree, the Mayan, and the Polynesian people. But how do we know it's actually true? Wikipedia dismisses it as fake. Rainbow Woman, as part of this prophecy, was said to come and nourish the three sisters, beans, corn, and squash. We're not talking literally, not these beans, corn, and she's not standing there with a hose in her garden. These represent the three stages of womanhood, the triple phase goddess, the string beans, the maiden, the corn woman, the mothers, and the oh my god, the mage, she who has the seeds of creativity in her womb. So we're seeing women's mysteries returning, the wisdom of the feminine, helping women to align with their lunar cycle, not just when they're fertile, but through all of their life stages, because this is how women understand their cyclic nature, so they can embrace their womanhood wholeheartedly instead of rejecting their womanhood. 70% of people that are identifying as trans are female, rejecting, actually no, I got that wrong. 70%, I need to be very careful of those statistics. Twice as many girls, that's what it was, of girls than boys are rejecting their womanhood. So what we're seeing is the end game of patriarchy, of us being programmed to devalue the feminine form, which is curvaceous and round and full, in favour of the masculine form, but also rejecting the feminine traits and elevating the masculine traits. So we need to heal misogyny within each and every one of us if we want to heal misogyny and bring about the end of patriarchy, which has not served anybody. Men, particularly white men, are not the victors of patriarchy. In fact, we've only got to look at the statistics. Men are dying earlier than women in every single continent on the planet, and twice as many men are committing suicide than women. So we need to stop blaming and shaming men for patriarchy. Wielding power as victims is passive aggression. It is a form of violence. Women that sit in circle heal through the power of sisterhood, so we don't need to blame and shame men to get a sense of our power. So too, men who align with the solar cycle, with the sun, understand they also have a cycle. Over that month of winter, that's akin to their annual period. They need time apart, time in the cave. They don't need to be badgered to fix the kitchen cupboards or the bathroom door. When men gather together to align with the solar cycle, they can embrace their manhood, heal that shame, and heal through the power of brotherly love, brotherhood. You know, John Lennon spoke about imagine, a world where that of brotherhood and sisterhood. He was speaking of the Aquarian age, of us fulfilling the whirling rainbow prophecy. Circle, coming together in circle, is how we fill our cup with brotherly, sisterly love, so we don't just need the one person to fill our cup. It was said Rainbow Woman would come to heal polarity, so we can walk in balance and harmony. During the Great Awakening, she would guide the Rainbow Warriors, those who take up the fight within to heal the conflict of opposites. Rainbow Woman was known as Iris to the Greeks, the goddess of the rainbow. In ancient Mesopotamia, she was known as Ishtar, and she wore the rainbow around her neck. In 2012, I was called to Uluru. You might know it as Ayers Rock, the colonisers' name for it, but it is the solar plexus of the world soul. And I was lucky enough to see a double rainbow. I went there to gather with people, to do ceremony. And I attended a huge ceremony. But afterwards I noticed everybody just disintegrated back to their vans. There was no cohesiveness. And I saw a bumper sticker on one hippie van that said, "One world, one tribe, one planet." But I didn't see that in front of me. Instead, I saw a lot of pot smoking, a lot of disassociation. And I received a vision, and I was shown spirals happening all over the planet, and I was given the mission that I needed to create as many circles as quickly as possible to get the women gathering at new moon in red tents in moon lodges. Because pre-patriarchy, the moon lodge was the heart of the village. If you wanted to destroy a village according to Native American law, you would go and destroy the moon lodge. This was the place where the women gathered during the darkest time of the lunar cycle, when they were closest to God. So I created an online course, and it went gangbusters. Women in 44 countries did the training to create circles. I also created a training for men, but there wasn't much uptake. It wasn't time. But in the last 6 years, since 2020, when a lot of us got clear vision, the men have been gathering. Now it's time for us to gather together, which is very exciting. So 10 years after I received that first vision, I was sitting in Byron Bay, which is the most eastern point of Australia, during the new moon in Aries, that new moon that is the start of the wheel. And I saw what's called a sundog. That's what you can see on screen. It's the rainbow halo of the sun. So unlike the rainbow halo of the moon, which you see closely around it, the rainbow halo of the sun is massive. And my consciousness got taken into the center of the sun. This was helped by the fact there was somebody playing didge and hang drum there at the same time. And I was in for about 20 minutes. And this image of a sundog was said to be a sign that it was time for the whirling rainbow prophecy to be fulfilled. So shortly after, I was doing a breath work, and my inner masculine, this Lemurian warrior, said I needed to travel the world doing free ceremonies and circles and talks to gather the tribe and raise the vibe. So that's what I did. I went off and did that in 11 countries, used my inheritance, came back broke to Bali this year and burnt out, going, right, I've just had to cancel my flight to the UK because it looks like I could get trapped there, and as a non-UK resident, it's a very expensive place to live. So I've decided to stay in Bali and instead do online events to serve as a mystic, midwifing the collective consciousness through our collective ego death and soul rebirth in this year of the fire horse. So it is now time. We're seeing the aurora borealis. It is time to fulfill the whirling rainbow prophecy. It's time to gather together. So I'd like to invite you to join me in journeying the equinoxes and the solstices, men and women all over the planet. I'm going to be doing 4 live online events because while Revelations tells us that the 4 horsemen herald the start of Armageddon, which simply means the war of opposites, it's not all doom and gloom. This end of the age is ushering in an exciting new beginning. So I hope you can join me on the equinox, March 20, to gather during the first of these 4 pivotal points on the seasonal wheel. because these 4 points are the hinges of our hero's journey. Whether we rise or whether we fall, so whether we step up into love or contract into fear, is determined by how we respond at these 4 turning points. Each and every one of us is going to be initiated. And initiations are challenging. I recently interviewed 2 wonderful death doulas, and they said, what is hard to face alone, we must face together in ceremony. And these women who take people through that most challenging threshold, the death of a loved one, know more about change than anyone else. So during these power windows, we are going to be tested to embody the 4 virtues. Okay, these were encoded in the tarot as the Grail wisdom tradition was, that was the foundation for Christianity. These 4 virtues are the 4 keys to chivalry, to behaving honourably in the Grail tradition. And the word chivalry comes from the French cheval, meaning horse. This is our lesson in Year of the Fire Horse. To behave in a way that is exemplary, and we together will become legendary heroes that embodied the rainbow bridge, and bridge the worlds to create a new era for those that walk in our footstep, a new global family where everyone is safe and everyone is soul dominant, a world that is light and love filled. But first, it's inevitable we have to traverse the dark. It's always the darkest and the coldest before the dawn. And the only way is through, because the dark is what births the light. So, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'd love to invite you to register for that event. I'll stop sharing. And if you can help me spread the word, I'd be very, very grateful. And I said at the start of this call that there was issues with the ticketing, and also dear Naima, who is on my team, was still stuck in Abu Dhabi. So obviously she didn't have the capacity to put out the ads until yesterday for today. So we were limited in getting the word out for this event. So my intuition is telling me to put the recording out free on YouTube and to invite you all to share it. Now, I know you've all paid to be here, so if you would like a refund, then please just email admin@themoonwoman.com and we will happily refund you, no questions asked. But if you're happy to donate that $15, I would be grateful, because it does take time, not just mine, but time of my team to put together all the integrations and emails and Zoom and all the rest of it, so as well as the keynote. So thank you. It's been really, I'm grateful to those of you that joined live, because otherwise I'd be talking to the wall like Shirley Valentine. But I'm, thank you, Annie. And yeah, if you can help me get the word out for the 4 Horsemen events, I'd be grateful. I'm also going to be putting it out there at the first 4 Horsemen event for those of you that would like to gather with me every month, journeying the hero's journey around the solar wheel. It will be online so that it's available to everybody. So we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to open it up to those of you that are here live. If you'd like to share any insights, any visions, anything at all that relates to anything I've spoken about today, we'd love to hear from you. Don't be shy, just unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, Tanishka. It's Jen.
Hey.
Thank you for all this. I just want to share really quickly that in my meditation this morning, I was led to clear my altars and redo them. And usually I do an eight-pointed altar. And I was told just simplify it and do four. And all of my altars requested just four things. And I have about three different ones, but it was four. And so when you brought this up, I was like, whoop. So I'm very intrigued and excited about the four horsemen, the four directions, the four seasons, and the four virtues. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for speaking that because in you saying that, I'm like, okay, I need to give people directions how to grid up with a crystal grid to journey these vortices. So if you hadn't spoken that, I wouldn't have gotten that. Thank you. That's a pearl. Awesome. Takes a village. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I have I'm really gl this is awesome and I'm really looking forward to the other ones that you're going to be doing in the future because I'll be as many as I can be. I have a question about I'm in a lot of Zoom circles and I have one myself called the Magic of Scent. And what about the vortex of the online circles?
Well, when I do an invocation, I get us to visualize that we're all in circle, yeah, between the worlds, yeah, beyond space and time in a
Mhm.
multi-dimensional space. So that intention is what creates the container.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay,
closing
cool.
that down. So as soon as we open, cast circle, open those directions, invoke those creative elements that comprise our bodies and the earth, then we're working with magic. But of course, we need to be working in integrity, because it's very powerful. With that power comes responsibility. So if we're opening those gates, those portals, we need to make sure that if people leave the call, they close those gates down so they're not walking away between the worlds and operating machinery or driving cars. So, yeah, it's important that it's done with experienced practitioners and facilitators rather than, the road to hell being paved with good intentions and naivety. Um, yeah, thanks for raising
Okay,
that.
cool. Thanks. Yeah, because that's happening a lot now, and I feel that it's got and then there's intersections of live circles and online circles, which is going to be happening more too.
Mm,
So I feel that's kind of I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the vortex potential of that. So thanks.
awesome, thank you. Anyone else want to share? And it doesn't have to, don't feel it's got to be the
Maybe share.
tablets of Thoth. Yeah, go on, Natalie. Hi. Hi, Bubba.
Yeah, I've just moved town, so this is really great, Tanishka. And like you and I, we did Bali ages ago. That was amazing. So I think for me, it's finding localized red tent sort of community and circle, but the online avenue and just having a little baby. And I can see Gabby has a little baby too. We're bringing the next generation into the world, and it's really important that we also I get back to me and stay grounded too, but we're sharing that and raising the next gen that have that awareness and consciousness, because I work heavily with AI and an AI strategy, and I'm fully aware of
Mm,
what responsible AI looks like versus the evils of
okay.
AI and
Yeah.
fast it's accelerating. So
Mm,
so for me, and they're not here, they're going to be leaning on that stuff. It's everywhere. So it's important. How do we keep our groundedness and our essence, and we're not just controlled by the bigger paradigm there. So
mm.
yeah, it's really a big
Love
thing.
that.
Mm. But thank you.
Thank you for offering that distinction to balance my polarized view. That's great.
It is scary, but
Love it.
responsible AI is where I'm involved, and I'm trying to make sure
Mm.
that we do that
I'm
uh,
just
at an enterprise level. So,
Yeah. Thanks also for raising about the need to gather on the ground, not just online. You know, touch is the most primal form of love. We need to show up in physical spaces with each other. We are sentient beings. It's touch that calms the nervous system. We need hugs. So any of you that have done my trainings and maybe have gone, life got in the way, please consider now is the time. You know, I did a reading for a woman many years ago, and it was like, oh, these red tent circles, it's to prepare for this time we're entering now. You know, that three-eye atlas was the blue kachina. It ushers in, well, the Hopi said 7 years of, turbulence. So, yeah, we really need to come together. When something is woven, it is strong. The word tantra means to weave. And without that, we're going to unravel like a basket case. So gather your communities. Gather your communities. Yes, anyone else want to share?
Hey, thanks, Tanisha. Really appreciated that. Was succinct and on it as usual. And just linking with any traditions, when we talk about the rainmaker and something about the corona going with it and that taking responsibility that the rainmaker did. I've been looking back at the Bhagavad Gita, and again, it's that inner conflict, the inner journey between the battle of what's right and what's just, and what our duty is, and the intent with which we operate. And the intent
Sorry to interrupt, Graham. Your voice is distorting, lovely, and I really want to hear what you're saying. I'm wondering, do you have access to plugging in a mic of some description, whether that's on portable earbuds or, this sort of thing?
in the wrong system. Okay.
Even sitting closer to the microphone on your thing. Try that.
If I speak soft.
Yes, that's better. Yes. Do you
more
mind? Because I really
gently.
want to hear what you had to say.
Okay. Just thank you. Succinct as usual. And really honoured. Um, it just when you were talking about the rainmaker, I started to think about the journey of him sitting in 4 days and being responsible internally. That Ho'oponopono, tradition, and often I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. That journey is really relevant. And the other one, which I really felt you talking about, but I didn't, but you did, was I guess for me, the underlying essence of the Bhagavad Gita, that inner conflict of what's right, what's our duty, what's morally correct, and that inner struggle that we all have with that. So, yeah, you've covered a lot of ground today, so thank you very much.
Oh, bless you. And yeah, Ho'oponopono is definitely a powerful medicine for the times that we're in. I ran forgiveness ceremonies around the world in 2019. Well, I first did it in 2013 using the Ho'oponopono as a vehicle for that. So, yeah, I was feeling I wanted to train sacred union facilitators to do that ceremony as well as mixed circles at full moon. So we'll see. I feel like I've got enough on my plate right now. I just signed with a publisher this week, so I've got 6 months to finish my book on menopause. Thank you. As well as doing the solar wheel with men and women and these 4 online events. And I think that's enough in my burden basket, not that it's a burden. So maybe the following year, but yeah, just practicing Ho'oponopono. I thank you for the reminder of that. That's good medicine. Yeah. Anyone else want to speak?
Hi, Tanishka. This is Annie.
Hi,
Hi,
Anne.
hi. I'm in Melbourne as well as a few of us. I'm relatively new to your work, and whenever I hear you speak, I'm just like, what the? It's so profoundly like whew, settling. And I just find this web of meaning through the various sort of avenues of all the things that you're speaking about. And as a practitioner of Chinese medicine, I've been focusing the last few years on women's health and started working, around menopause before the world blew up around menopause. And then I just kind of moved a little broader and working with women who are still cycling and so on. And it's been really powerful the last
like last year actually, and moving into group work and bringing women into, I haven't been calling it circle, but it's been in circle. And the vortex that you're talking about, there's so many parables around the Taoist perspectives on how the polarities, when you were talking initially, the dark and the light, and if we're, the idea of rallying and we're adding to and we're separating has
I'm
such
just trying to protect my flesh from your nails, okay?
Yeah,
such a relevance around what the Taoists are saying of separation of the light and the dark is actually death. And so moving into the acknowledgement of the dark priestess is so exciting, and it's been a real sort of foundation of what I've actually been doing. So it's refreshing. I really appreciate what you're up to.
yay. Thank you. And
Yeah.
just sharing how organically it's time to gather and how, it's coming through all of us as channels in how we
Yeah.
work. Yeah. My experience with healing is that initially in our healing journey, it's a lot of one-on-one sessions because the wound, see you, Graham, is too overwhelming to be exposed to circle. But when we've done some journeying with one-on-one practitioners, circle, it accelerates our healing journey. Okay, because like the homeopathic principle, we got the wound in an interrelational field, and that's how we're going to heal it. It's going to bring it up to be healed. But circle, it creates a container. It holds more in it. It holds more of a strong container for trauma to come up and be released.
Yeah.
So family constellations work, all of that as well. But yeah, we're just returning to the ancient ways of doing things on the understanding, like the African way of seeing it. If one person is sick, it's reflecting that we're all sick. It's just manifesting in that one person. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Kat,
just,
did you want to? Yeah,
I
please.
just want to say, because I'm in the Northern Hemisphere and we are just coming into our almost at the equinox and the land is unfolding. It's just been a magical time of year here. And I feel more and more people are tuning into different circles, but it seems to be really a strong thing. Everybody's gathering much more even in a few years ago. So I'm kind of feeling hopeful that we are moving forwards and away from all the nonsense, and that spring is here. We've got blossom, we've got daffodils, we've got blue skies today. So pity
Hey.
you're not here, but hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, I do miss you, and I miss Lewis and everybody there. Yeah, I got to say, doing the English summer festivals, speaking at those the last few years, what was so heartening whenever I'd sit in the drop toilet was the number of flyers for men's circles. It's like really gaining ground. And
Yeah.
for me, the UK, you see the Green Man pubs on all the corners. It's like that's where the Green Man is really archetypally anchored in. So he's coming, the heart-centered, grounded Earth Father that is the counterpoint to that distant Sky Father who, is all thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening, sending missiles across the world. That's what we're moving on from. So the more men that are planting food and hands-on dads, beautiful. Yeah, wonderful. Well, it's time. Is there anyone that didn't get to share that has something they really need to speak? I'll open the floor. If not, we'll honour everybody's time. And yes, Lorraine, please unmute. We'd love to hear you. Let's see. I'm going to click that button. Hopefully you're getting a... There we go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just like to say hi and thank you for this. And yeah, it's affordable and I've been able to get to it and really, really happy. And it says we're under country, but I'm not. I've moved. So I must fix that up. I'm out of there. But yes, I'm hoping to meet people where I am now more. Yeah, I lived in a great, great area. The people that know what's going on and were very helpful. And yeah, yeah. So if any of them are on, hi. But yeah,
Oh, yeah. It's so important to be with people that are on the
yes,
same paradigm that
mm.
because just as invalidation causes trauma, validation heals us.
Oh
So
yeah,
to be with people that we're in heart coherence with, that understand reality as we understand it is so important. Um, Thank you for speaking also about that relocation piece that Natalie raised. The fastest way to find community is to see if there's a local circle happening. Yeah, which isn't to
yes,
say they'll be your people, but and
yeah,
maybe create a circle
yeah,
to to bring like-minded people to you if you can't find a circle.
yeah, yes. So I just that did come to mind when she was speaking. So I'll just you can see I'm very quite elderly. I will get on to the Google and all that and yeah, just see what comes up. Perhaps
Mm,
stand or something like that even. Yeah. Stand in the park or yeah. That's
yeah,
where I that's where I actually met a lot of people because
that's where I
I'm a
met
new
Kat on the call here. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, that was really great meeting those people. Otherwise, I would have been totally alone
Right.
and not knowing what I know now. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think
Beautiful.
that's enough from me. Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for
So
sharing.
hope to see you all on the four horseman
Woohoo!
journeys. That sounds fantastic.
We ride
Sounds
at
amazing.
dawn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Jen, you
Thank you
had
very
your
much.
hand up. Are you complete? You're good? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm
Well,
finished.
I'm going to close this call.
It
Thank
was
you
a fun
so
one.
much for joining live. And yeah, I've
Yeah.
had a nice time. So have a beautiful Sunday and go
Yes.
and appreciate the beauty that's out there. All right.
Yeah.
Ciao for now. See ya. Bye.
Bye.